Good evening, you guys. Good evening. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, 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 you guys. I can't wait to get into it. So, welcome to the Heal Black Joy podcast. We're continuing our relationship series this month by talking about all things relationships and dating. We have covered dating in 2022. We talked about our men from Mars and women from Venus. We talked about alternative dating, which is the polyamorous lifestyle. And tonight, we're going to be talking about dating after divorce. So we are jumping in and talking about topics that we normally don't talk about. Welcome to all of our Heal Black Joy folk. Hi, I'm Lola Troy, the host and curator of Heal Black Joy, the learning platform for our community to heal our Black joy with tangible and attainable programs for the mind, body, soul, relationships, and businesses. And today, my guest is none other than Donald Morton. He's an award-winning social entrepreneur known for his innovative social solutions. Donald is an award-winning social entrepreneur who is the CEO of the ReManned Project, where he helps Black men break the vicious cycles of missed potential so they transform every area of their lives. The ReManned Project is a deeply personal project for him. While he's glad that thousands of men are on this journey with him, it was started because he needed liberation. He was fighting to put his life back after divorce, infidelity, business challenges, bankruptcy, and a life destroyed by being the worst liar ever. He said he was a liar, you guys. We're getting ready to get into it because we want to talk about dating after divorce, something that he and I both have experienced. So I can't wait to, let's see. Hi there, sir.
My friend, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Outstanding. It's a great day, no doubt about it.
It is a great day. Are you ready to get into this topic?
I'm ready to get into it. Let's fly. Let's see where this goes.
Let's see where it goes, right? So this whole month at Heal Black Joy, we have been talking about all things relationships, and we've covered the entire spectrum of dating and relationships. And I think this is one of those topics that we don't discuss enough in our community, because a lot of times men and women, even though we've gotten married, we'll get divorced and then we get stuck somewhere in the, I'm just going to have a revolving door of people that I'm dating, or I'm very apprehensive to go back to dating.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So first of all, let's talk about the ReManned Project, because I'm super excited about what you're doing in the space of helping Black men heal and move forward, as the best version of themselves. I think that is commendable that you're even tackling that. And I know as a Black man, you know it oh too well. And as a divorced Black man, you know it oh too well. So how did you, what was the liberation that you needed per se?
Yeah. So first, thank you for changing times for me and all of those kinds of things. I really appreciate it. The work around Black men, I can't tell you how many, Lola, how many people have asked me to just kind of jump out of the space. Like they say, hey, just deal with women, man. Women are easier to deal with. They're hungrier to see transformation. And it is those kinds of comments that make me hang in here with brothers, right? Because
Yeah.
usually what happens is we've seen it in our overall society. Guys are often overlooked, undervalued. Particularly as it relates to programs that are out here. The only program for a Black man out here right now, Lola, is go to jail. They got a program for that, right? They do not have transformative and transformational kind of programming that helps a Black man become who he was ultimately designed to become, because usually by the time a brother gets to me, he has made significant mistakes in life. And what's unfortunate is, if you were to ask, what's up, Dave? If you were to ask, hey, what are some programs out there for young people? There are hundreds and thousands of them, right? If I were to
Right.
ask, hey, Lola, who's out there helping ladies? You would be able to name thousands of them, right? If somebody were to ask, who's helping our brothers develop character and the strength and resiliency necessary for them to be successful the next go round, the answer is nobody, right?
Right.
So I tackle adult male character development because that is the one space that has been sorely lacking as it relates to helping a brother to overcome the resilient or overcome the challenges that come with everyday life. I'll finally say this, and then we can kind of jump in, because divorce is an element of that, right? Helping
Yeah.
him to really face that. Um, you know, guys are traditionally expected to be strong without anyone giving them the tools necessary for them to move on with their lives. After we make mistakes, we are perpetually punitive with Black men, right? So even as it relates to Black men coming out of jail, those that have been justice involved or whatever the case may be, whatever adversity that they face, we talk a lot about emotional quotient. We talk a lot about IQ, EQ. Nobody talks about AQ. AQ is an adversity quotient. How does he have the capacity to be resilient after all of the things that he's been through? And so
Mm.
that he doesn't make the mistake all over again. So the ReManned Project, we are one trick pony. We deal with one thing and one thing only, and that is, how do we expand a man's adversity quotient? How do we expand his capacity to meet, face, and overcome the adversity that comes with everyday life, so that after he divorces, if he ever divorces, he's able to move on with his life with a sense of resiliency that he couldn't have prior to coming in contact with the ReManned Project. So that's a long way around the fact that we help men deal with adversity.
I love that. How did you liberate yourself, or how did you remand your life? What was that journey like for you? Because
Yeah.
it's one thing, I can just speak from my own personal experience. I always tell the truth. My Heal Black Joy tribe knows that I give it to them raw and real. And that was, some people can, fail at marriage, but
Yes.
amicably divorce. Me
Yes.
and my ex-husband, we failed miserably at both. I can be very honest in
Yes.
saying
Yes.
we failed miserably at both.
Yes.
And
Yes.
hindsight is 2020 now. Like, we're cool now and
Yes.
we're very cordial now. But during that time, it was like mine, mine, mine. And the only thing that we had to like really separate, because we had separated 3 years prior to our divorce, was our daughter. And we
Yes.
were literally fighting over our daughter,
Yes.
who is most precious to both of us.
Yes.
And we were fiercely, fighting that ownership, I would say, of our child. And then what I quickly learned in court system is that they don't really respect family.
Mm.
They respect the law,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes.
So with that, he was the said, you know, responsible party. I was the said defendant, and my daughter was the said minor child. Didn't have a name, didn't have a face, didn't have a soul, didn't have a
Absolutely.
heart.
Absolutely.
And they moved forward with those thoughts in mind. And
Yes.
so for me, just to bring it back, circling back to dating after divorce,
Yes.
after going through that experience,
Yes.
I was so reluctant,
Yeah.
to get
Yeah.
back into that, field of trusting
Yeah.
myself,
Yes.
to be vulnerable again with
Yeah.
someone else,
Yeah. Yeah.
So what was that for you when you went through your divorce and you were trying to liberate yourself?
Yeah. One of the things that I've learned, and that I tell brothers all the time, right? Because that's who I talk to. I talk to brothers, right? And what I try to tell brothers is, there's a principle of marriage that says the two shall become one. But oftentimes, Lola, the one didn't necessarily become two yet. So singleness, the idea of when people ask about whether or not a person is single, they're asking one thing, but the truth of the matter is they're asking for one reason, but they're not asking the right question. The question is, are you unmarried? The question isn't, are you single?
Woo!
Because being single and being unmarried are two different things.
Okay, now you know I'm gonna ask you. Break that down for me. Break it
Right.
down for me, brother.
So when I got divorced, I became unmarried, but I was not single. Single is a state of wholeness. It's a state of alignment with oneself. It is a state of healing and wholeness with your creator, with those that are around you. It's a state of being good. It's a state of emotional and mental soundness. So usually when people ask, hey, are you single? They're really asking, are you unmarried? Or are you with someone? It's a good question, but they're really not asking whether or not a person is whole. And so the one thing that a person has to be able to do after they get divorced is that no matter whether the divorce was amicable or not, there is a degree of trauma that comes with divorcing that must be addressed. You are no longer single, right? So people say, well, I'm not married, so I am single. No, you're not single. You are unmarried,
That's
right?
good.
And it's going to take some time for you to become single and thereby prepare to enter the next relationship so that these two individual whole people can enter a relationship to be a whole marriage. You can't be a whole marriage or have a whole relationship unless and until you've done the work of individual wholeness. And at the moment I need you in my life, it is an indication that I am not whole. It is an indication that I am not single. So listen out for people who make statements like, I don't know where I would be without you. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. My life is so much significantly the better. No, 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 boo boo. Your life has to be whole before I enter it, right? I'm not called to carry your life. I'm not called to complete your life. I'm called to complement the wholeness that you already bring to the table. So as we talk about what dating looks like after divorce, you got to take time to really manage the process of healing to become whole before you can ever really address whether or not you're prepared to date or not.
Ooh, Heal Black Joy. I need you guys to find 3 people that you really know needs to hear this conversation, and I need you to share it because we're getting ready to start pressing the gas, and he has already given us so many nuggets. Let me go back to single and unmarried, and I want to
Yes.
tell you my truth. I thought I was single.
Right.
I was unmarried,
Right.
and even though there was a year's time, or I would say almost 2 years time before I connected with another individual who was also unmarried.
Yes.
And then we connected and we were trauma bonding in this relationship
Right.
because he was unmarried, I was unmarried, and it was tumultuous
Yes. Yes.
because neither one of us were whole. I know that for a fact.
Yes.
And we
Yes.
were just licking each other's wounds,
Yes.
literally.
Absolutely. 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 Which is
Yeah.
what most of us do, right? Because no one takes the time to be self-aware. Whenever we rush into the next relationship without doing the self-work, without doing the soul work, we are bound to be incredibly disappointed, because this is one of the things that we've learned about relationships, Lola. Relationships will reveal you. They will show you whether or not you've done the work. It is an absolute perpetual test. in relationships, right? So when I enter a relationship, whether it be dating, whether it be committed relationship or what have you, when I enter that space and I've not done the work, it will show. So many of the things that you talked about a moment ago, as it relates to, what it might look like, if I'm still tripping at something that they do, all that is because I ain't whole. I was on a stage on Clubhouse earlier today, and here's what's troubling. What's troubling is the idea, Lola, that no one even thinks wholeness is possible. There was an entire Clubhouse room full of people who said that you're going to have to deal with an individual that got trauma somewhere, right? So the whole idea of wholeness before dating is a lost art. Everyone is already, at least their perception is, I'm going to have to deal with something. I just got to choose what my poison is going to be, right? And so it's a dangerous perception because wholeness is possible. It's absolutely possible.
But let's just talk about our community for a moment. And this
Yes.
is going into a spiritual and religious
Yes.
portion of it.
Yes.
A lot of times because my experience has been Christianity.
Yes.
In Christianity, a lot of the doctrine that has been taught to us was from a place that we are having to struggle through a thing in order to redeem a reward, right?
Yes.
Where it's one, performance based, two, you got to struggle through it to get to get some understanding of it.
Yes.
So a lot of times we're not reminded of wholeness because we have accepted that we have to struggle through a thing
Absolutely
in order to understand it.
Absolutely the case.
So a lot of times people don't think that wholeness is attainable.
Yes. And so whether it be, and we have to be careful, even you and I as coaches, right? Because our objective is to get a person to that place where they don't need us. But as coaches and therapists and pastors, right, we become addicted to the fact that we have helped this person, and so we need them more than they need us. Right. And so we really have to get to a place as a community, whether it's a Christian community, whether it's a cultural thing as it relates to Black folk, where we understand that wholeness is possible, is probable, and in fact necessary before we even entertain the idea of dating. And we had to get that out first, Lola, because to your point, many people are hopping from relationship to relationship to relationship, trauma bonding, and finding it's not that, they are attracting someone that is like them only. It is that their spirit is looking for them. So it's not haphazard. It's not like I'm this way, I'm broken, there's some things going on in me, so I'm attracting that. Because there's some deficits going on in me, my deficits are looking for deficiency. And if I don't find it, it's possible to identify someone who is whole, but because of your unhealed self, you'll sabotage that relationship as well. Yeah. So it's important to spend some time doing the self-work and the soul work before you actually address the whole dating process.
I think that is so good that you're saying that. And it goes back to what you originally stated, which was about self-awareness. Yes. A lot of us are not self-aware. We are aware that in growing up, because of that struggle, if we're in numbers, we can seem to manage it better. So we will seek out to couple up with someone because, hey, if I'm with someone, I can make it happen, with this person. Not thinking, what, I really shouldn't couple up with anybody until I become the best version of myself. Well, we're not thinking that because 9 times out of 10, we didn't see it. There
Yes.
was not a tangible example that showed us that this is what we're supposed to do.
Yes.
We just kind of hook up because that's what we're used to seeing. That's what we're used
Absolutely.
to doing. We, in a previous conversation this month, we seek out euphoria. We
Yes.
seek out joy, even if
Yes.
it's temperamental. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? Even if it's temporary,
Yes.
we're going to seek out that joy, regardless if we're going to sabotage it or not. So,
Absolutely.
in your ReManned Project, or even in your own experience for
Yes.
your life,
Yes.
what did it look like afterwards? Because you said singleness and
Unmarried.
unmarried.
Right.
When you went forward, when you said, "Hey, I'm making this decision that I'm going to step now into dating again, dating
Yes.
after divorce," were you unmarried or were you single?
I was unmarried, right? And I one of the reasons why I was looking forward to tonight's conversation, and one of the reasons why I so highly respect you, is the fact that people aren't getting healed because we are not honest, right? We have become masterful at lying and masking and not telling the truth about what's really good, right?
Yeah.
So when I was divorced, it was such a painful divorce that it took something from me.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of really taking time to address what happened in me, what happened through me, right? Through me with regard to her, because I never took time to address those things. Um, I bled in every dating relationship after that time. I bled. So here's one of the myths that we gotta lay out right now. Hey,
Okay.
Jew, I see Reverend Jew. That's my friend in Los Angeles, California. She used to tease me, Lola, and say, "Hey, Donald, you in the smallest state in the nation," because I was in Delaware. Now I'm in Atlanta. She ain't got nothing to say. She's silent today, right?
Georgia in the house.
Georgia in the house. So here's one of the misnomers that we've got to defeat. It's not the amount of time from the divorce or separation that matters. It's what you did with that time. Come
Mm.
on, Lola, right? It's what you
Mm.
did with that time. So people say, "How long have you been divorced?" I've been divorced 5 years. I'm just getting out here in the dating scene again, right? The time is irrelevant if you didn't do any work in that time, right? So when we hear a person has been divorced 2 years, we feel like it's cool, like I'm safe. They dealt with the stuff that they needed to deal with. They
Mm-mm.
didn't ask the follow-up question. The follow-up question is, what did you do in those 2 years? So give me the chick, or give me the dude that has been divorced 7 months, but been working his tail off during those 7 months to identify, to become self-aware, to heal, to become whole, more than you give me the person that's been divorced and separated 5 years, but ain't done no work, don't see no self-reflection, don't see any input of their part in what took place. Give me the guy with 7 months and not the guy with 3 years, because the guy with 3 years ain't done no work. That's the misnomer that we really have to deal with.
Tag me in, coach. Tag me in.
Yeah, yeah.
Can I be honest? I was
Sure.
that person. I was that person. Even after that tumultuous relationship, even though there was time spent, like years
Yes.
in between me starting to date again,
Yes.
I was angry, and that was bleeding over into my work, my career, my family relationships, my friendships. I was angry.
Yes.
And I hadn't even dealt with my divorce, more or less this next trauma bonded relationship that I jumped into
Yes.
afterwards,
Yes.
which was a result of me not doing the work with that first one.
Yes.
And so now I'm 2 relationships down. I'm embarrassed because I've had 2 full adult relationships, and I felt like I didn't have anything to show for it other than my daughter. So I was embarrassed, which was also about image.
Yes.
Let's talk about that for a second, because I
Yes.
grew up image conscious. We
Yes.
don't want to get real. If we're gonna
Yes.
get real, let's lay it all the way out.
Absolutely.
I was so image conscious because I actually had the audacity to say, "Why me, God? Why am I going through this?" Like, I've done so many, performance-based things that were
Yes.
so good. I've sowed all these good seeds. And God told me, "Lola, why not you?
Yeah.
Who are you?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Who are you? You're no better than the next human being, the
Yes.
next woman,
Yes.
the next man
Yes.
that has done the same things that you've done or not done the same things that you've done. And it's just an experience that you're going through, and you've got to work through that experience."
Yes. Yes.
But I had the audacity
Yes.
to say, "Why me? Why am I going through this?"
Absolutely.
Not self-aware,
Absolutely.
not doing the work. And I was angry.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was
Most
nice,
definitely.
nasty. I wasn't kind, which is a difference.
Yes.
My nature is to be a kind person.
Yes.
But my experience made me nice, nasty. Which is, the image is showing up, that avatar is showing up nice, but behind closed doors and on the inside, I had a lot of anger.
Wow.
That I hadn't dealt with.
Wow.
And guess what? I was attracting angry opportunities.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
With other women, with people that I decided that I might try to date.
Yes.
With my family members.
Yes.
With myself, with my child.
Yes.
To the point where I almost didn't recognize myself.
Yes.
And I'm sure you know this. A lot of times your children are your biggest mirrors.
Absolutely.
And my daughter was like, let me put this mirror in front of you, mama.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if there was anybody that I needed to transform my life for, I didn't even deem myself worthy enough to transform my life for me.
Yes.
But because I take that role as a mother very serious, I was like, I'm going to transform my life for her. And that was such a blessing.
Yes.
Because it was important for her.
Yes.
Even though it was so much more needed for myself.
Yes. Yeah, most definitely.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I understand that bleeding out. What did that look like for you, bleeding out?
Yeah, I mean, just argument after argument, fuss after fuss. And here's a part of what I recognize. It's one, just to kind of be scriptural for a moment, right? One of the things that the Bible says is every knee should bow, every tongue shall confess that Jesus is Lord, right? But there's a principle there. Your knee should bow or it shall bow. One way or the other, you're going to have to address this conversation with what lords over you. You will absolutely have to address it, right? So either you submit to it and you address it because you should, or you deal with it because you shall. Right? but one way or the other, Lola,
you're gonna submit to.
You're gonna submit to it. You're gonna have to deal with it. And so when I entered new relationships, I found myself arguing and fussing, and my fuss wasn't with them. It had nothing to do with her. But she was in the closest of proximity to me. So my war was within. My war was with some trauma that happened long before the dating process. But you're going through either way. Ain't no doubt about it.
Yeah.
But ultimately what happens is somebody's going to get it. So it begins to kind of answer this question, Lola. Not only whether or not we should be dating, but you better ask the question, who you dating too. Because just like there's some areas that we've got to deal with, there are some areas that the person that you are dating should have dealt with as well
Yeah.
before you really decide to do some of these things seriously. So yeah, I bled with arguments, fussing, cussing. I mean, I was, to your point, I was angry, very, very angry. And here's what we got to be honest about. Some of those, and I'm talking to somebody that's watching, right? Somebody that's watching in the replay, somebody's watching
Yeah.
live. Some of the relationships that you walking around telling people, you blaming them, boo boo, it was you, my guy, it was you.
Yeah.
So it's a convenient thing to be able to say, yeah, it just didn't work out, or it's a convenient thing to say, you know, they got some stuff going on I ain't really want to deal with. Very few, but the mature are able to say, you know what, I wasn't ready, I blew that, right? Because it's not until we're able to be, it's one thing, Lola, for you and I to be honest with one another and with our audiences. It's another thing, though, to be honest with ourselves. One of the things that we, when a guy first joins the ReManned Project, we take him through a process we call the truth mirror. And I don't want to get into what the truth mirror is, but it's ugly. It's the ugliest of realities, because we want him to know up front that this is a space where we force you to be truthful. This isn't a space where you can come hide. We coming for you, right?
Yeah.
And when people don't take the time to be honest about what's really going on, the relationships that have been ruined, the collateral damage of the people whose lives that they ruined because they were unwilling to do the work. And I know we're spending a lot of time, you and I, talking about the self-work, but guys, we can't even talk about dating until you've gone through this process, right? Everybody wants the ABCs 1, 2, 3s.
Right.
But you can go through the ABCs 1, 2, 3s without doing this first thing,
Yeah.
without laying a strong foundation, and the ABCs 1, 2, 3s will not matter.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah, it came off through arguments. It came off through infidelity, because I found myself looking for someone to affirm my nonsense. Right? I needed someone to affirm my nonsense. I needed someone to tell me I was okay in my nonsense. We're living in a culture now that continues to tell people, give yourself grace. Man, don't give yourself no grace. If there are some areas that you continue to show up wrong in, check yourself and surround yourself with a group of people that will check you. Don't continue to think that it's okay for you to show up in the way that you've been showing up, and it's okay to damage you, to damage others' lives, to damage children. Oh man, heal, right? So infidelity, anger, fussing. I never did drugs. I never drank. It just wasn't my twist. I'm not coming for anybody that did. I just can't. I can't stand the taste of alcohol, hard liquor at least. I may have a Merlot or something like that.
Yeah.
But aside from that, you know, I'm just not that guy. But I see
Everybody's
how
vices are different.
everybody's vices
It
are
could be
different.
food, it could be sex, it could be wine, it could be drugs, it could be whatever those things that you deem excessive in your life that make you get out of
Absolutely.
control.
Absolutely.
We're
Absolutely.
human, so we're good. So people, we're not oblivious or not, you know, where we don't have those vices, because we
Yes.
all have whatever those vices are for us.
Yes.
And that bleeding out, like you said, that you in the ReManned Project, you take yourself through this, or take them through this truth thing where you gotta
Absolutely.
get, I call it getting naked
Yes.
with yourself,
Yes. Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
But I'm gonna throw a curveball in there for you.
Yes.
What if you already in the dating world, right?
Yes.
Cause you unmarried,
Yes.
and you already dating,
Yes.
there's still that process of getting naked before you can continue on, because you could be dating and there's still some things in the relationship that we got to talk about. I got to be honest with you about. You need to be honest with me about, because if I'm unmarried and I've already hooked up with somebody and we're already dating, we're already trauma bonded.
Yeah.
Because you
Yeah.
ain't healed and I ain't healed. I attracted
Yeah.
you, and now we in a relationship, and I hadn't had that truthful conversation with myself, and I'm already in a relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Let's be
And
real, because
and right.
most of us are not single. We are unmarried and we have already hooked up.
Absolutely.
Right? Am I
Absolutely.
being honest?
Absolutely. Absolutely the case.
And even in that, we're not having those naked conversations. We're not asking those questions. Like, what comes out in the arguing is the triggers.
Yes. Yes.
Because like you said, you wanted somebody to validate your junk.
Yes.
But if they would have asked you the question beforehand, what is the validation from? Like, what is the root of that?
Right.
Which would also force you to be honest with yourself.
Right.
Because a lot of times, I don't know if you've noticed this, but in coaching, a lot of times we're not faced with those questions by ourselves.
That's right.
We're faced with those questions when we're interacting with other people.
That's
We
right.
don't even, sometimes you don't even know that you need to heal a thing until you are actually
That's
interacting
right.
with another person.
That's right. That's right.
You know what I
Absolutely
mean?
right.
So it's like, then you come into an awareness of, oh man, this is triggering me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
gotta get honest with myself. I thought I had healed from that, or I didn't
Yes.
even think this was an issue.
Yes.
And now it's showing this ugly and rearing this ugly head
Yes.
in this conversation with this woman or with this man.
Yes. Most
How do we
definitely.
handle that?
Well, I think we have to have, what's up, Dawn? I think we have to have enough courage, Lola. This is not the answer people want to hear, but we have to have enough courage and love for another person that when I recognize I'm not ready, I need to be honest with that person. Hey, you know what? It ain't time for me yet. Let me kind of go back and address some of these things that I am seeing in myself, because what I refuse to do is to have the same relationship with a different actor. I'm not willing to do that, right? And so a part of where we've got to develop, that's why I hate the term safe spaces. I hate safe spaces because I can't control them. I can only control what I call brave spaces. My bravery, my confidence, my courage to enter a space and be authentically myself. When I have not reached that place, I ain't ready for relationship. The relationship, y'all, is the root word is to relate. And most of y'all are dating an image. You dating an image. He is not. You'll know it when a person feels like they got to put their best foot forward. They send a representative out. I don't know whether I can trust you. Here's the deal. Any relationship that I'm going to be in is a relationship that I'll be in as my authentic self from day one. I'm not going to hold anything back. Why? Because I'm really prolonging the time of interaction and getting to know someone when I'm putting a representative out up front. So you like, I need to trust you. So let me wait 3 months before I show you. Man, I just wasted 3 months. So until you get to a place where you recognize you're able to be transparent, authentically yourself, and give that person with whom you are interacting authenticity and transparency, truth, all of those. If you're not there yet, then don't drag a person into your drama. It ain't always baby mama drama. It ain't always financial drama. It's you drama. You got some stuff going on that you really need to pay attention to before you drag someone into that nonsense that could be absolutely okay with their lives, right? And then you bring all of this stuff up, and now you got this whole issue with a person that was absolutely good. They was good by themselves, and then they meet you and you ruining their life because you refuse to deal with the authenticity and transparency of your own life. So I really encourage people, you know, not to connect until you are really ready to connect.
And I put up some dating tips today,
I
and
saw.
we kind of been touching on them without really getting into it. But there's one, well, there's a couple of them that you've already touched on. That was being honest and
Yes.
open about your experiences.
Yes.
And I said, but don't dwell on the past, because that can be a
Correct.
buzzkill.
Correct.
But I think what happens, what that's speaking to is someone who's really not ready to date. Because if you're dwelling on the past, that means you unmarried and you're not single. You know I'm gonna take your word. I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna use that, because that's good. That's good. You are not single. You are unmarried.
Yeah.
One of the other ones that was big for me is chemistry and compatibility, because a lot of people will have chemistry, right?
Yes.
And the
Yes.
chemistry could be based on the representative.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
the compatibility that comes in is going to be based on the real person, the authentic, true self, when that shows
Absolutely.
up, right?
Absolutely.
So now this avatar has come off. This avatar is worn off. It's 3 months in. Greetings, Bishop.
What's up, Bishop?
And you got the avatar's gone, and now you're looking at this person like, okay, I don't really know this person, because my chemistry
Yes.
was with the representative.
Yes.
Because you were
Yes.
showing up as your best self, your best smelling self, your best dressed self, the best,
Yes.
hair laid, nails done, everything done.
Yes. Yes.
Guy got on, he clean, he swaggy.
Yes. Yes.
And then you 3 months in, and now you done got real comfortable. And now you're showing up as your true authentic self.
Yes.
And now it's a little slip of the tongue. It's a,
Yes.
you're not as forthcoming about things.
Yes.
You're now withholding information. You're now not calling as much as
Yes.
you did. You're now missing, dates that we decided that we were going to do. What are we supposed to do now, brother?
Yeah. Yeah. So be grateful. Be incredibly grateful, right? Because uh, a part of what we aren't doing is we are rolling roughshod over the red flags that we take time to see. We ignore them. We roll over top of them. We make excuses for them, and and then we ultimately get into these committed relationships, these marriages, after having disrespected the red flags that our Creator gave us to see. It is an absolute disrespect and disregard to our Creator, who says, "Hey, look at this," right? We're like, "Nah, that's just a bad day." Right? Or they just having a bad day. No, no, it wasn't a bad day for me. I was angry. And so a bad day became a bad week. And then a bad week became a bad month. And then a bad month, a bad season, right? And instead of paying attention to the red flags, and instead of me being honorable enough to say, you know what, I am ready. Instead of me being honorable enough to do that, I enter a relationship in hopes that my potential would line up with my reality at some point. And the truth of the matter is, when you start entering relationships based solely on potential and no fruit is showing up, you are in dangerous territory. So a part of what we've got to be able to do is be grateful that you have not committed, that you are aware of the red flags, that you do see things based on history that you say, yeah, I'm not dealing with that again, right? That's not a person being in trauma or something like that. It's a person saying, you know what? I know what I refuse to deal with again because I know me. And because I know me, I know that doesn't work for me. And it's not that I'm angry, I ain't upset. I'm grateful for the time that we've been able to spend, but that is not for me. And because when we take our time and allow 90 days, that is about the time when you start shedding all of the pretentiousness, all of the stuff that, you can put up the facade. 90
Yeah.
days, you start seeing dudes pass gas. You start, right? You start seeing the stuff that she tried to hide. All of that stuff comes to the surface. You have to give yourself time to witness the seasons of a person's life, to see their responses to that, to determine whether or not that's someone that you need to be with. When you rush into it, even in the dating process, don't commit too soon. Don't commit without seeing those things, because you will ruin not only your life, but you'll ruin the life of the person with whom you're interacting.
Absolutely. And that is one of the other tips, was taking it slow in dating again and being honest with your intentions. And I will say, for me, being unmarried, it was about
Author Kai Kelly said, I'm going to just stay single.
you.
Oh,
My
you going to
friend
stay
Arthur Kai,
single?
you gotta go back and hear what he said, single and unmarried. You gotta go back and do this replay, because there's a big difference, and he
Absolutely.
explains it. Um, and yeah, she is definitely single, you guys, not unmarried. She's single. She's whole. Um, but and this is just me being transparent.
Sure.
I think in my unmarriedness, I'm just making up a word right now.
Yes.
In my unmarriedness, it was about unworthiness too, because you were talking
Mm.
about that process of grief that you experience after divorce.
Yes. Yes.
And it was those questions about not only my image, like, I'm divorced. I come from
Yes.
parents that have been married for 50
Yes.
plus years. My
Yes.
grandparents died 70, they were married
Yes.
when I was in the fourth grade during their 50th wedding anniversary, and they died in
Yes.
their 90s. You
Yes.
know what I mean? So they
Yes.
were 70 years in, not talking about living,
Yes.
70 years married. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
So for me, coming from that legacy, coming from that
Yes.
lineage,
You
I'm
feel like you the
like,
blemish. You the blemish now.
I was looking at myself like the biggest failure,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Unworthy. You deal with unworthiness coming out of a marriage, because you're like, of course you want to internalize, you point the finger at the other person, like, well, they did this, they did that, they did this, and they did the other. But at the same time, it takes two people to make a marriage work, and it
Yeah.
also takes two
That's
people
right.
to
That's
make a
right.
marriage fail.
That's right. That's right. So let's talk about this a bit, right? I was talking with my assistant recently about this one thing, right? And that is, we have to be able, Lola, to count the cost of what it takes to be married. I think we take it so lightly, right? We're really not doing. We just feel like, if it don't work, we just throw it away. I take marriage very seriously. I know you take marriage very seriously. And yes, there are times that the marriage just doesn't work. And it's not that the marriage doesn't work, it's that the people in the marriage don't work.
Right.
Right?
That's good.
So
That's good.
so so there are no bad marriages. There are bad people in the marriage. Right? So
Woo!
so when we start fixing the people in the marriage, then we will have longer marriages. When everyone commits to just doing what is necessary, um, we begin to have longer and more fulfilling relationships and marriages, which brings me to one of the points that I wanted to make sure we dealt with, Lola, and that is this. There's a book that's named Start with Why, right? And it's the same thing in relationships. Why are you dating? Why? Because you need someone in your life. You need to spend time with someone. You need someone to fulfill an area of your life that is not fulfilled. Start with why. And if you can't genuinely start with why from a place of wholeness, then you are not dating for the right reasons. You will begin to suck the life out of the people that you date when you don't date for the right purposes. Mm-hmm. And there are so many people, Lola, who are dating for the wrong purposes, right?
To fill in those gaps.
To fill in the gaps, to be able to address the fissures, the chasms that exist in our relationships, right? What's wrong with Kai? Hey, Kai says I'm dating because I'm unwise.
She is so not unwise. I promise you. She's always lit in the comments.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So when we start asking the appropriate questions, one of my colleagues, I used to call him a friend. I don't know that I could call him a friend. We don't really know each other intimately like that, but his name is Dr. Mark Lamont Hill. Mark Lamont Hill did some work with me around colorism and things of that nature maybe 10 years ago. And Mark said during his speech, he said, hey, y'all, we ask the wrong questions.
Yeah.
Right? So he gave the question. He said, we're asking the questions of, Black men. What does it mean to drive while Black? And he said, the real question is, what does it mean to police officers to patrol while racist? It's a different question from a different lens.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
So when we start asking ourselves the appropriate questions, then we'll begin to get different kinds of results. We're asking ourselves these surface questions. We're not digging deep. And so we're getting the same results over and over again that we really don't have to get. So I'm hoping that Kai and others, Kai got me clowning, right? I'm hoping that we begin to ask ourselves the real important questions.
And what do those questions look like? If someone is dating post-divorce, because even though she's being funny right now,
yes.
One of those things, one of the comments that she made that was very key, and that was worth is such a huge issue post-divorce, right?
Yes.
So if someone is thinking about dating post-divorce, which is what, I feel like this conversation is so monumental because we had to unpack the why before we got to getting to dating post-divorce. So now that we understand that we really should be single and not just unmarried. And in our singledom, we should be self-aware and asking those truthful questions, right? And then we're ready now to take those steps, whether that's 7 months, whether that's 2 years, whether that's 5 years from divorce, post-divorce. What are those questions that we are asking post-divorce in dating?
Good question. So there are only two for me. We teach guys and help them to discover the answers to these two fundamental questions. I want every lady to lean in and listen to these questions that your guy has to be able to answer. If he can't answer this, he can't be with you. Here's question number one.
Okay.
The question number one that every man has to be able to answer, and it is also the reasons why violence is happening in the world, infidelity is happening in the world. These questions for Black men, he has not answered for himself. Here are the two questions. Question number one, who am I? It is a question of identity.
Mm-hmm.
Most Black men have a struggle with identity. When you have an absenteeism of fathers in the home, fathers who are designed to share and help cultivate identity, when that man doesn't have an understanding of who I am, right? Who am I? If he's not answered that question, he's going to have problems. He's going to be problematic for you because he's going to try to find his identity in other things, including you.
Woo!
Right? So if he tries to find his identity in you, then that identity will shift. And believe it or not, if he's trying to find his identity in you, he's also tried to find his identity in the ones before you. So because he doesn't understand who he is, he's taken on a bunch of different personas, trying to understand who I am. Who I am must always be answered by the one that created me. So if he doesn't have clarity with regard to his creator, if he doesn't have connection with regard to his creator, he doesn't know who he is, and he's going to try to find it in external things, right? That's question number one. Question number two, after who am I? Question number two is, why am I? The first is a question of identity. The second one is a question of purpose. Why am I here? Right? Because if he doesn't understand his purpose, he will live a life unfulfilled. And he will always try to get fulfillment from you, right?
Yes.
That can be exhausting for a sister. So a sister that's always trying to big him up. Now, that every man needs encouragement. Every man needs to be supported and feel supported and affirmed in that area. But at the end of the day, if that man doesn't understand why he exists, the purpose for which he was made, why he is on the planet, millions of dollars were made by Rick Warren with one book, The Purpose-Driven Life.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because he answered the question. It's impossible for me to kill another Black man when I understand he's got purpose for being here. I'm not going to kill him. I'm not going to snuff him out. I'm not going to take him from his kids when I understand that man has purpose. I'm not going to abort a child when I understand that child has purpose, right? So unless that man is able to answer two fundamental questions, who am I? Identity. Why am I? Purpose. That is a man you ought to run from until he answers those two questions, because he is going to be a miserable dude to live with. Not because he's a bad guy, but because he's not taking the time to answer two fundamental questions.
And let me just add to that, because in my coaching, those are two questions that I ask my clients. Personal identity, who am I? Because from a female's lens, let me just tell you, Black females in particular, our identity has always been wrapped up in relation to someone else.
Yes.
Whether it be I am someone's daughter, I am someone's sister,
Someone's wife.
Someone's wife,
Right.
I am someone's mother, and
Right.
we take on those roles. I am someone's boss, I am someone's colleague. We take on those roles and we get into our 30s and 40s, and we are in our role.
Yes.
But we don't know who we are.
Yes.
Outside
Yes.
of that role.
Yes.
So that is also, from a female perspective, something that men should run from, because they don't know themselves outside of the role that they portray.
Absolutely.
Because when you ask
right.
a woman, specifically a Black woman, who they are, they say, "Oh, I'm a mother," or "I am I'm a healthcare trainer," because that's what I do. So I'm using myself as I'm a healthcare IT trainer.
Yes.
No, that's your job. That's what you do.
Yes.
But who are you?
Yes.
Right? I know that I am a motivator. I know that I'm a creator. I'm a creative. I am a networker. I am someone who's a giver. I am a joy seeker. So a lot of times women don't know who they are as well in our community. So we are literally hooking up with each other, and we don't even know who we are, and we don't know what our purpose is.
Yeah, absolutely right. There's nothing to add to that. 100%, 100% accurate. Yeah.
So basically what we're saying is we don't need to date. We need to be single or get to singledom
Yes. Yes.
and get to know ourselves before we venture out and bleed out into relationships with others and get to know ourselves very well.
Yeah. And here's the last thing I would say about, because I did look at the keys, they're brilliant keys. I would just add, hey, y'all, trust your gut, right? At the end of the day, don't violate your own intuition. Um, all of us, I think, Lola, have, whether it's the red flags that we've seen or whether it's just this feeling like, something ain't quite right.
I call it the Sudoku puzzle.
The Sudoku. Okay, tell me about that. The Sudoku
So
puzzle.
if you see people that do Sudoku puzzles,
Yeah.
they've got to line the numbers up vertically as well as horizontally,
Right.
right? But my tumultuous relationship, I was doing a Sudoku puzzle. I was trying to move the 3 over here and make the 9 line up with the 1 right here
Yes.
and put the 2 over here. So you're jumping through hoops in
Mm,
difficulty to make things line up from 1 to 9.
got it.
Right? And
Got it.
so you're literally jumping through hoops to make a thing when it ain't a thing. You know it's not a
Wow.
thing. You know it's potential. You know it's not the real. And you're
Yes.
giving yourself excuses and literally
That's good.
moving the 1 over here, making the 9 fit right here, and
That's
moving
really
the
good.
2 over here and the 7 to line it up, and you tiring yourself out
Yeah.
emotionally, physically,
Yeah.
mentally, spiritually
Yeah.
to make something work that is
Yeah.
not
That's
lining
so
up.
good. That's so good. And being honest about what is not lining up. And here's the deal, y'all. It's okay. It really is. Like it's when we get to the place where we understand that it is absolutely arrogant of us to think that anyone owes us change. That's arrogance. I'm not going to enter a relationship with the expectation that that person owes me change to fit my script. That's arrogant, right? That is so arrogant of me to feel like, and it's arrogant of anyone to feel like, if you love me, you'll change for me. No, boo boo. Mm-mm. No, no, right? Because people say that all the time, and I tell brothers, do not, when women say to brothers, "Hey, if you love me, you'll make some adjustments for me." No, I will change because it's right for me. And when I do change, the byproduct of that change and the beneficiary of that change is you, but I don't change because of you. I change so that you're the beneficiary of my change. There's a subtle difference between the two. If I've got to change for you and I just changed for her, and then after you and I don't work out, I'm going to change for her, I'm in trouble.
You don't have any foundation.
I don't have any foundation at
Yeah.
all, right? So I'm begging everyone to get rid of this idea that if a man or a woman is unwilling to change for you, at the moment, sis, that you got a dude that's willing to change for you, you ought to question whether or not he could ever be rock solid for your family. He could never be rock solid. If you can get him to change like that, people will call a brother stubborn. He's stubborn. No, he's rock solid. He's got some sense of integrity.
Woo!
Once he develops a personal value system, he ought to stand on that. And if he can't stand on that, then that's not a man of integrity. And if he's going to change for you, believe it or not, when someone else has enough influence, he's going to change for them too, even if it means violating the change he just made for you.
Mm, that's that's a word right there, sir. Woo!
Yes, look for men of integrity.
Look for
Get a
people.
man of some
Yeah.
substance.
Get a man of some substance.
Yeah.
and that goes across the board, because I think we, a lot of times in these conversations, we'll give women passes. I'm a person that, like, I'm an equal opportunist, but I'm also an equal uh, accountability partner. I
Yeah,
want women
absolutely.
to be as accountable as we expect men to be. And
Absolutely.
so, yeah, my work, of course, is with women, because I am a woman and I understand women and I've had that experience, so I can speak it very well.
Yes.
But I think we also have to have integrity as well,
Yeah.
because in this world of social media, we can show up as our avatar as well, and we can present
Absolutely.
ourselves like we have it all together. That nice
Absolutely.
nasty that I was talking about, I was an angry black woman,
Right. Right.
and I bled out, and it
Yes.
showed until I did my healing work. I had to
Yes.
step back and really, really do that healing work. And I think it's important that we as black women and as black men do that healing work and be single and
Yeah.
not be unmarried.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
you said.
Most definitely. Most definitely. And I'm glad that you said that. I have developed, Lola, a perspective that is really, really simple, right? I don't get in grown woman's business. I don't get in grown because I ain't a woman. So I don't understand, right?
Right,
And brothers say, man, you hard on us. I'm hard on us because I love us. I
right.
respect us. I
Yeah.
recognize the brilliance and resilience in black men. And so my addressing to black men is because I want to see us win,
Mm,
right? And I think that far too long we've had these standards for our sisters. Brothers have standards for women. Like there's certain things that we want to see, certain things that we want her to have. I'm good with that. But I want to check us, and not only do I check brothers, I expect brothers to check me. I'm not up here. All of us the same. If I'm out of pocket, if I'm not functioning in integrity, check me
mm.
as my brother. You ain't got to know me. As my brother, check me. Why? Because it is so beyond Donald Morton at this point. It's for the culture, Lola. Our culture is broken.
That
And if
is,
someone
yeah,
doesn't deal with the elements of our culture, the elements of our culture is the family. The elements of the family is a man, a woman, children, the dog, and the white picket fence. If we don't fix that, right, our current society reflects in a macro way the microcosm of the family. The family is broken, so the macro of the society is broken. And the only way to fix an overall society and culture is to deal with the elements of the family. So
yeah.
I check brothers, and they know I love them. I'm hard on them, but I love them. My dad is Mike Freeman. My spiritual father is Mike Freeman. He hard on me, not because he doesn't love me, but because he does.
Right.
He knows what's in me.
Yeah.
And so for every brother that's watching, we need to be hard on one another. We need to hold one another accountable. And we also need to make it difficult or check the systems that make it difficult for us to be the kind of men that we need to be, right? That's another conversation for another day. I just want every single brother to understand, right? That, right, bro? Yeah, I see you, man. We
I
need to
heart
hold one
GT.
another accountable. Yeah,
I
I heard
have to
GT.
shout him out. He and my other brother, they have a platform called the Kingdom Bros, and
Okay.
they're doing the work that you're
Yes.
doing, and
Yes.
they have a show every Sunday, and they're talking about the very thing that you're talking about. So
Wow. Let's connect, man. I would
I
love to
have to
connect with
connect
them.
you guys. They're
Please.
two awesome brothers
Love it.
that are at the forefront of talking about the very things that you've been
Wow.
discussing throughout this
Wow.
conversation. So I have
Wow.
to shout out Gerald.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, they're wonderful, wonderful brothers. Um, this conversation has been so good and
Yes.
so pivotal in this space, because I think what has been going on in the podcast sphere and in this sphere of social media, we have been pitted against each other.
Yes.
And I had this conversation with
Yes.
the Kingdom Bros, and I am intentional in having conversations with Black men and Black women, but I wanted to be intentional of having conversations with Black men in this space because,
Yes.
like you say, you know the Black male
Yes.
experience. I
Yes.
know the Black female experience, and I don't want to pit myself against you.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I
Yeah. Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a lot of platforms right now. I want us to be able to have authentic, truthful, honest, vulnerable conversations where we
Yes.
celebrate each other, but also hold each other accountable
Most
in these
definitely.
spaces.
Most
And I
definitely.
just want to continue this conversation as we go along, as we are doing the ReManned Project, and as I'm doing Heal Black Joy. So before we get off, I know you're doing the
Yes.
ReManned Project. What
Yes.
else are you working on? What can we tune in for? What is Donald Morton doing?
Yeah. So we are working on a tour right now. I'm gonna put for any brother that really wants to kind of join our group, our Facebook community for all Black men, entrepreneurs there, fathers are there, husbands are there, men are there.
I just pinned it.
Uh, okay, great, thank you. It's the mecca for Black men. We are attempting to kind of create a community and curate a space where Black men can do business with one another, that they can, help one another grow as fathers, as husbands, so on and so forth. So I would ask that every brother who is um, sorry, ladies, it's only for the dudes. It's only for the brothers because brothers get distracted. We have sisters in there, and then brothers trying to holler.
Holla, yeah.
So so for every man that's watching live and by the replay, do me a favor, go to joinremand.com, and it'll take you over to the Facebook group. Answer the questions, and then we'll let you inside the group. We got guys doing business with one another. It's just a phenomenal community of brothers. So, Brother Gerald, you hop over there too, man. I'm looking forward to kind of meeting with you. Lola, connect us. Thank you for the work that you do. We're doing a tour starting in July. It was supposed to start this coming Saturday, but we're doing a tour called it's a Versus tour. And the Versus tour is Black men versus the Division of Child Support Services, right? Because what we recognize is that there's some turns that have been happening inside the institution of the Division of Child Support Services. They have fatherhood programs, things of that nature. But brothers are aware and used to the old Division of Child Support Enforcement, where they would lock you up. And there's still some things uh, that are policies that just don't make sense, that we've got to have conversations about. How in the heck is he behind on his child support payments, and you take his license so he can't get to work? Like, I mean, those certain things just don't make sense. Why he's behind in his child support payments? Um, because you take, sometimes in some instances, Lola, 75 to 80% of the man's check. He can't make it, right? So there are certain things that we want to have conversations and challenge the institution, and then there are certain things that we got to challenge the brother and say, hey, my man, while we fighting the institution, you still got a child to take care of, and it's
Right.
a child that you got to do what's necessary to get the job done. And we want to help you. We want to support you in your endeavors to take care of your family, right? So we are starting a tour. We've got one in July in Wilmington, Delaware. We have one in Houston, Texas in August. We've got one being planned in Los Angeles, California. And so we want to take it on tour. We've got one that we're planning here in Atlanta, Georgia. So we're really taking the time to really address the needs of Black men, because as we started, the needs of Black men aren't being heard. The
Right.
needs of our sisters, our children, other communities are being heard, but Black men aren't. So I'm in the fight for the rest of my life to make sure brothers are
Get heard.
sound, that we are celebrated, we're held accountable, and the best and most fulfilling potential out of every man is received by our overall culture and society.
Absolutely. Send me over whatever you have on that, and
Okay.
I will blast it out to my Heal Black Joy tribe.
Okay.
even though my Heal Black Joy tribe is about 70% Black women, I got
Yes.
30% Black men, and they show up in my space.
Absolutely.
They hold me accountable for
I love it.
making sure that I represent them well and have things that are specific to them.
Yes.
And I love my Heal Black Joy tribe members that are men, because they stay on me. They're like, okay, Lola, you got to talk about some things for us. So
Absolutely.
I really appreciate them. Before we get off, I always
Yes, ma'am.
ask my guests, because I started Heal Black Joy with the intention. I have to be super duper intentional about what Heal Black Joy is about. And I know we talked about this when we met, but
Hmm.
for me, Heal Black Joy is about it's those three words are very important to me, because I feel like
Yes.
if we heal our joy
Yes.
in our singleness, right?
Yes. Yes.
Then that permeates out, just like you said, in the community.
Absolutely.
We have to hold
Absolutely.
ourselves accountable and find that joy, and not only find that joy, but that joy then permeates out in our relationships and in our community and in our work and what we do. And then we have those strong connections and those strong relationships.
Yes.
So what does Heal Black Joy, what do those words mean to you?
Heal Black Joy, and this is really not an intent to be coy. Heal Black Joy is exactly what we did tonight. It is exactly this, your podcast, my interactions with you, just listening to your tribe tonight. Um, what if, what if everyone lived in this space that we were able to curate for the last hour and 20 minutes? What if everyone could live for the rest of their lives in a space of authenticity and deep truth telling and fun and humor and seriousness? This podcast has been all of that at the same time, right? And so I think there's a particular complexity that comes with Heal Black Joy, and I think you've been able to bottle it, and I think you've been able to express it here tonight. So I celebrate you, sis, for the work that you do to curate these kinds of spaces that make it possible for everyone to feel exactly what the mission and vision of your organization is. And tonight, I'm absolutely humbled to have been a part of the vision that the Creator has given you for Heal Black Joy. And so, um, Heal Black Joy is what I was able to experience in its fullness tonight, talking with you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes,
I
yes,
mean, it's been such an honor to pick your brain and get your experience, and thank you for giving us so many nuggets to walk away from, because I think a lot of times, and you know this from being divorced, when you get out of divorce, you feel like you've been body slammed, right? Like you have,
absolutely.
it's not a physical body slam, but it's definitely like a mental and emotional body
Yes,
slam, right? You're just like,
yes,
okay, what in the world did I
yes,
just experience here?
yes,
Okay.
yes,
And then when
yes,
you pick yourself up again
yes,
and you're able to breathe fresh air
yes,
from a really healed place,
yes, yes,
you know that it's a moment that, yeah, I can go forward,
absolutely.
but there's a moment where you like, I don't know if I can go forward or not.
Yes, yes,
Right?
yes,
You go through those stages, and I think both of us being here having this conversation is a
yes,
tangible example that even in our truth and our vulnerability, we had
yes,
that moment of feeling like we were body slammed, but
absolutely.
we also had that moment of saying, yeah, I picked myself up and I can
Yes,
dust that off my shoulder
yes,
and move forward and still smile and have
yeah,
some real
yeah,
joy,
yeah, yeah,
right?
absolutely. Because it's all a part of the journey,
Yeah.
and I want people to. I know they heard a lot of what we said, but you mentioned something earlier, and I don't want to prolong it. I want everybody to hear it. Arrest the shame of it all.
Mm.
Arrest the shame of it all, right? I have learned that every single thing I've been through has purpose.
Yeah.
And I've had to learn, Lola, just like you have had to learn, to trust God in it. I don't know what it was. I have no idea why I felt my lot, to your point a moment ago, like why me, and God, like, why not you?
Yeah.
I have no idea. I just know this, that the people you and I were able to reach tonight would not have been able to be reached had it not been for our separate set of experiences
Yeah.
that give us the ability and the empowerment to help people. So whatever shame a person is dealing with, arrest that
Mm.
and stand up like a phoenix in the power of who God created you to be. You are not the divorce. You are not the failed relationship. You are made in the image and likeness of our God. And
Yeah.
when you understand that, you'll stop identifying with all the stuff that has happened bad to you. You'll learn to use it for your good,
Mm-hmm.
and so that God can launch you to the place that he ultimately wants you to be. So just arrest the shame of it all. I just felt like somebody needed to hear that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I know our Heal Black Joy tribe is going to be taking this information. There are those that, we had to switch up the date, but that's fine. We
Hmm.
will have a replay. I always put it on our Heal Black Joy channel on YouTube.
Okay.
And I also find snippets, those nuggets, those bars, those quotables that you
Yes.
gave us on tonight. You gave us
Yes.
so many. So I got
Yes.
to figure out, I got to decide on which ones I'm going to use that are going to be the most impactful,
Yes.
because they all were super yummy and super good. So I have
Thank
to
you.
thank you for
Thank you.
showing up and showing out,
Thank you.
and taking this assignment, and really, really giving us those nuggets post divorce, dating
Yes.
after divorce. It
Yes.
gives us hope. It gives those of us
Absolutely.
who are doing that healing work hope that we
Absolutely.
can rise up out of the ashes, as our Southern lady
Absolutely.
says.
Absolutely. Without
So
question.
thank you again for your
Thank you, Lola.
time, your experience, and what you do in this space to help our men. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. It's been great talking with you tonight.
Absolutely. And safe travels.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right. To my
Bye
Heal
bye.
Black Joy tribe, thank you guys always for tuning in. We normally do it on Thursday nights. We made an exception tonight for our good brother Don to come on and speak to us. But thank you again for fully being engaged. And as always, 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 always try to heal your Black joy.
Hmm.
Have a good night, you guys.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.